So what's on my mind today is someone showed me an article in Discover magazine about I-beams. You know, do you believe in I-beams? I think was the title of it. And so it was that scientists did a study and found that people essentially perceive force coming from our eyes. So they're calling them I-beams. And this perplexes scientists because, of course, there's not an actual force coming out of our eyes, right? So why is the study showing this? And well, they'll have to duplicate it and everything else. But I would posit that any presenter gets the I-beam thing, right? They get that. There is force that is felt from eyes when someone is looking directly at you. And as a presenter, you really know this because when you have 50 eyes or 500 eyes or 5,000 eyes looking at you, it is definitely a force knocking you back. It's terrifying. That's a lot of what makes presenting so nerve-wracking, because there is this come at you force being projected and multiplied by as many people as are in the audience, and you have to be able to channel that, to flow that energy, to stand up to it and not be collapsed or knocked back by it. So this is really interesting because as someone who works with animals, I work, and not professionally, but I've had horses my whole life, and I am dancing with my horse. I have the goal in the next 5 years or so to be able to perform in horse dancing with an unrestrained horse who's free to dance or not, free to come or not, or to just leave and go eat her food. And I've been trying to do this my whole life, off and on, and could never get the horse to dance with me until I really started understanding this concept of energy and predator and prey forces at work that are at work in everything. And all animals, including the human animal, move off of this energy, move or not, depending on if you can incorporate it into your wave of motion, emotional and physical, then you will move, and if you can't, then you won't. And scientists and most humans try and put a human story around it. They try and they try and get it in the mind and not in the body, but this is happening in the body. This is something that the body automatically responds to. So it's the reason why you can drive a car down the road and not really think about it, because your body's processing the forces there. They're processing oncoming cars, and other things happening for you. It's just an automatic force processing that's going on. And I would argue that the exact same thing is happening all the time when we're walking down the hall, when we're giving a talk, or whatever we're doing. You're processing the forces, and the forces are all energetically predator and prey. Predator is negative, it's push away, and prey is positive, it's draw in, draw towards. So you're drawing. So like dancing with the horse is kind of the same as talking to an audience, or talking with an audience, co-creating with an audience, because I can push away or get your attention, or I can draw you into the story. And that's how you dance with a horse. We push the horse away and draw the horse in, and if you do too much, of course you can push them completely away, but pushing them away a little bit and drawing them in is making a wave, and it's very, very pleasant, very pleasing. And so there is definitely, and eyes are one of the negative forces. They're a push away force. If I'm really staring at you, I am pushing away, right? So eyes essentially are predatory, and the animal kingdom considers them predatory. This is why, to my knowledge, no animals like being looked in the eye. We like to look them in the eye. We look our dog right in the eye. Oh, pretty puppy. Oh, I love you so much. And the puppy's like, oh my God. And we turn that into, oh, they like it so much. And they're really just kind of freaking a little bit, right? So it's considered predatory for animals. And I believe all non-human animals view it this way. What's interesting to me is that humans do also, unless we're being completely vulnerable. If we don't have any protective strength up, and we are able to get into what I call open strength. Open strength is the capacity to defend yourself without feeling any need to guard yourself. And as a human, we can get into that strength, and then we're showing our soul. And now the eyes, instead of pushing away, are drawing in. But it's very difficult to have non-predatory eyes, right? And in the non-human animal kingdom, they would consider them, for the most part, predatory. When you look an animal in the eye, it either scares them away or is considered a challenge. So be prepared to fight, like with a stallion, a horse stallion, or a bull, or any predator. You know, a wild cat or something. If you stare them in the eye, that's considered a challenge. And with humans, it often is too. You know, if we're talking to someone and staring right at them, we're kind of challenging them. But when you can stand there completely vulnerable, completely strong, but not guarding yourself, now you're inviting them into your soul, into the true you. So this may be perplexing to scientists, but humans feel it, whether we are good at putting language around it or not, and good at putting a story around it or not. We feel it regardless of what people are talking about. Even the scientists feel it. I could go up to one of those scientists and push them away with if I was very predatory towards them, I would push them away without any physical objects or things that they can measure or things like that. And I could also draw them in, right? So there are forces at play. Kevin Bien, a dog trainer who rehabilitates aggressive dogs, one of the most fascinating people I've ever met, has really been the one to start really noticing this and put language around it. So I've studied his work a great deal. He presents it in the work of dogs, but it explains all animals, including the human animals, and kind of translating into humans. But he postulates that we feel these forces even though there's not something physical there, because they're a test before committing your body. So before committing your body to going over the cliff, you kind of feel what it would be like to go over the cliff, right? Not good, so you're not going to do it. So the cliff causes you to pull back. You don't want to go there because you felt what it would feel like to go over the cliff. So they're like a test of, should I commit to the action? Should I step forward? Should I walk into that oncoming car, or should I run away from that oncoming car? Should I engage my audience? Should I not engage my audience? So you're giving a test ahead of time, and that's the force that we're feeling internally, is what would happen if we did it. And I'm not going to go into this today because this would take a whole day, but the biggest variable or factor in whether or not you feel like you can engage the forces that are around you and coming at you is how grounded you are. If you are very, very, very grounded, you can flow a lot of energy. You can incorporate a lot of things into your emotional and physical wave. And if you're not very grounded, if you're up in your head and you're off balance and can be easily tipped over, then you're not going to be able to engage that and do it. That's the really short answer. So this is my first attempt at spitting out a couple of minutes on a really complex, it's not such a complex subject, it's a simple subject, but it's complex because we've created misconstrued language and so many stories around it in our head that you really have to stop and think about how your body, how the animal part of you works, even though it's doing it all the time, whether you understand it or not. Trying to get your head around it is another story. So that's my first attempt, and I'm going to keep going, and this actually was nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. And I'll get better at explaining it because I'm doing this, so I'm really excited. Cool.